My name is Marco Torres. I work at the PSJA Instructional Technology Department. With me today, we do have Debbie Pingel and we have Valentin Guerra. And we also have Snide Elizondo. They are also part of the team and they work in the elementary. They specifically a little bit more with elementaries. I am your middle school contact for instructional technology. We also do have David Villarreal. He is the high school contact for instructional technology. I just want to say thank you very much for joining me today. We do have the link for the PD system if you want to go ahead and click on it and the PSJ, the registration, the checking code is PSJ Tech. So feel free to click on that link and register for this training. We are going to have a drawing at the end of this presentation and give away an awesome door prize to one of our viewers. So what we're going to go ahead and talk about today is we're going to be looking at a little bit of curriculum, and we're going to be looking at one of the applications that a lot of teachers use in the district called Nearpod. So the premise for today's presentation is let's use the curriculum that we already have provided. It's a good blueprint for what we do in the classroom, but we can make edits to it. There's some things that we like, we can change it, if we can delete it. If there's things that you want to do by yourself, we can go ahead and add it. Now, I'm not going to go over all tools for Nearpod today, but I will show you a few on maybe how I would set up a lesson using curriculum and Nearpod. So if you look at my screen right here, I actually am in the middle school 6th grade social studies website. So this is the curriculum that the curriculum writers and the strategists put together throughout the school year and in the summer. So if you look at these, I believe most of the curriculum websites, whether it's elementary, middle, or high school, are very similar in their presentation. So for this instance, what we're going to do is I'm going to go to the 3rd marking period for social studies. If you don't know the website for your curriculum, please reach out to your coordinator. They're a really good source of information, and so they usually have a Google site that has all of the curriculum in there. So go ahead and I'm going to click on the 3rd marking period, and I'm going to go ahead and pick one of these lessons that we're going to look at, and then we're going to make edits to it depending on what we want to do and what we want to emphasize. So one of them that I'm going to go ahead and click on right now is going to be the United States Civil War. So if you do look at your curriculum, you'll realize, I believe at all 3 levels, they're very similar in the way that the structure is of the template. It says what the content and language objective is and has guiding questions and whatnot. But what we're going to look for and pay attention to is look for this Nearpod icon. Most lessons that I've seen have a Nearpod in it. Some don't, but I know as the year progresses, I think probably near 100% of the lessons will try to have a Nearpod activity to it. So when you see this, you can actually go ahead and click on it. And what's going to happen is it's going to open up the activity. So when you look at the curriculum bare bones, the way it was written, we see that right now it's 23 slides, and we have some activities and we have some information on there. And so we have some pretty good stuff. So the first thing that we're going to want to do so that you can edit, every time you click on a lesson, a Nearpod lesson created by our coordinators, you're going to have to make a copy of it. So in order to make a copy, we go to File, and we go to Make a Copy, and we're going to do the entire presentation. The good thing about this is it'll tell you where do you want to save the folder. And if you want to be pretty organized or pretty granular, you can click on where it says folder, and I'm going to go right here, 6th grade social studies curriculum, because that's where I'm going to put all my this is a 6th grade lesson, right? So I'm going to go ahead and select this folder, and we can select it. So we're going to do make a copy. So now that we made a copy, we're going to be able to edit it. So if you haven't used the slides to create a Nearpod, and feel free to ask some questions. I have our some of my colleagues in this chat. I know Debbie and Valentin are pretty good at getting questions and letting me know. But let me know if y'all have any questions. Feel free to, or use the mic if you want to as well. So now that we made a copy, we can start editing our lesson. So I can look at the things that I really like, and then I can add on to it, or I could delete stuff to it. So I noticed that most of the curriculum does a really good job of an entry ticket. So I actually like this slide. So if I were a teacher, I would use it. And so, oh, sorry, before I get ahead, if you do not have this add-on for your Google Slides, it's a Nearpod add-on. What we're going to do is we're going to edit the Nearpod in Google Slides. And the reason for it is if we make edits in Nearpod, let's say down the line, 5-10 years from now, we don't have Nearpod anymore, you're going to lose your lesson. But if you create it in Google Slides and you use the Nearpod tool, it's going to stay in your Google Drive forever. You'll just lose access to the activities. So if you don't have it, you would go to add-ons, get add-on, and then we would look up Nearpod, and then you would get it here. But I already have it installed. So let's get down to editing this. I actually like this one, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it. Let's open our Nearpod extension. So you can leave it like this. I know some lessons have a duplicate, but it's just the content, but I don't really need this. So what I'm going to do is delete this. Again, this curriculum is really good. It's a really good blueprint for lessons, but I like to kind of tailor things and make it my own. So now that we know what we're studying today, causes of the Civil War, I like this activity, and I like that kids can use a draw it, and then they're going to put in their answers. Remember that when you do a draw it, not only can you write with the mouse, you can also insert text boxes. So that's a pretty good way of getting kiddos to do the lesson, to do the activity that way. In social studies, what I like to do is I like to actually show before we start getting into the nitty gritty what they're going to learn today. So one thing that I highly recommend is try to include some virtual VR field trips in there. So I'm going to put in, I know the most important battle in the Civil War that we're going to go over today is Gettysburg. So if you look up, you can look at several locations on the VR field trip tool. So I'm going to look up Gettysburg and see what pops up. So we have Devil's Den at Gettysburg Battlefield. This one's pretty cool. You could actually preview it and see this is what the students are going to see. I like this, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. I'm going to use that one. And now you see that we have a VR field trip for the second slide. I want to show another thing as well. I want to do a second VR trip. So going back to this and going back to Gettysburg, we can go ahead and click on that. And then there's a second Devil's Den location that we can put in there. And I think it's just a really good tool because like if you're explaining this before you get into the Civil War, if you know your content, you can say Devil's Den. This is particularly like where snipers and sharpshooters were stationed at for this particular war. And you can kind of see why, right? Because of the vantage point. So that's something that you can explain to the students and they can look around for themselves. I'm going to go ahead and do 2VR. Like I said, it's just preference. With social studies, I really like to show the content before you get into it because a lot of the time, students don't have very much context for what they're about to learn. So, if they're going to learn about the U.S. Capitol, I would like to show a VR of the U.S. Capitol first, at least in a social studies setting. So we can keep going down. And we do have, some pictures. Okay, I like this picture, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it. We have with our curriculum our LO and our CO. So those are good. So we're going to go ahead and keep it. Now this is an interesting one. We have a word wall. So what you could do for a word wall in this particular case is either you could use these words and maybe create like a matching pair. Like I could do succession and then I could put the definition, or I could even do it with these individuals as well. We can try to get what kind of background knowledge the students have. So if I'm going to talk about Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses S. Grant, Robert E. Lee, a really cool thing that we can do is we can actually create, in this particular scenario, let's try to find a matching, let's see here, where can I find it? I'm going to get the matching pairs. So the cool thing about matching pairs is you can put in here, you can put text or images. So I'm going to say match the correct pairs. So I'm going to add a pair here. If you're not familiar with it, you could do something like this. You could put 16th president, and then I'm going to put an image. These are all safe images, by the way. So I'm going to put Abraham Lincoln, find it, and then I'm going to go ahead and do this one. I like it, so I'm going to do it. Let me do one more. Enter text. I'm going to go ahead and do leader of the union, and then I'm going to go ahead and put. I'm probably going to spell it wrong. Ulysses S. Grant. So we'll do that and put that there, and I'm just going to do one last one. I'm going to do Robert E. Lee. Leader of the Confederacy, and then I'm going to do Robert E. Lee. So the cool thing about this is now we have our activity, and you can preview it. So it's going to mix it up automatically. So we can actually check it out right here. So if you go to preview, they're not exactly right next to each other. So it'll jumble it up for you. It's not going to be exactly like this when the students see it, right? It'll be mixed up. So I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and press save. So we've done a couple of different things already. We've added some VR. We added a matching pair based on this graphic. One thing that I really like to do is I have checked with a lot of some of the writers have told me that they didn't do a check for understanding, which is totally fine in some of the Nearpod videos. But what you could do, you could add your own check for understanding. And let me show you how you can do that. So this is a video, and it's a really good video. It's a YouTube video, but it's 3 minutes long. And sometimes you want to make sure that your students are paying attention to the video. So if you go to a video, you can go edit this slide. So let's get this going. So now that we have here, we have the video, there's a few things that we can do. I'm going to play it a few seconds. You're probably not going to hear any audio, but it's okay. So what we're going to do is it's talking about right there. It says it's from 1861 to 1865. If I really wanted to, right here at 9 seconds, I could add a question. It could either be open-ended or it could be a multiple choice. So I'm going to add a multiple choice question to this. And I'm going to put, when was the Civil War? And so I'm going to put 1861 to 1865. That'll be our correct answer. So I'm going to put a check mark right here. And then I'm going to throw some random dates out there. 1800 to 1810. And then last but not least, we can add something like 1950 to 1960. So that's something that we can do. So I'm still using the curriculum, but I am just editing it just a little bit the way that I like to do it. So we still have the same video. It's a really good video. It's good content, but we're just adding to it. I'm going to let the video play a couple more seconds, or I'm actually going to fast forward it. And right here, I could do something like add an activity and then open-ended question. This is what the students are going to write. So you could add something like how many states were in the Confederacy, and then save it. And then the students will, when they get to this particular point, they're gonna put in their own answer. They're gonna type that one in. And then last but not least, one thing that you can do, you can actually trim. So if I'm doing the curriculum, but I'm going to do half of this presentation today and then half tomorrow, let's just say I can hit the trim button, and I'm just going to do it to 1:30, and then we can go ahead and press save. So we did a few things. We added 2 checks for understanding. The video is trimmed. So we added 2 checks for understanding, and then we trimmed the video down from 3 minutes to 1.5 minutes. And then if you want, you could add more checks later. If you're going to do this later in the day, or if you're going to do it, the following day. So what have we done so far? We've added some VR. We have created some matching pairs based on the word wall, and we've also edited a video, and we also trimmed the video. So there's a few good things you can do here in Nearpod. This is really good. This is a really good slide for information, which is good. We need those sometimes. We can't have everything as, an activity. One thing that I found that I really like about this particular slide in general is that you can make any image into a draw it. So if you're not familiar with what a draw it is, I like this image because it kind of broke down what both sides were, the Confederacy and the Union. So I'm going to make this into a draw it, and I'm going to tell the students, I'm going to explain, I'm going to put circle in red. I'm going to put circle in red the Confederate States and circle in blue the Union States. So we can go ahead and save that. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I messed up on that one. I needed to actually press on this slide. I'm sorry. I'm going to put convert this to a, sorry, where did it go? Right here. So convert it to a draw it. I accidentally created a blank one, but if you put convert to draw it, it'll use this as the background, and the instructions can be exactly what we just did, which was circle the states that are in Confederate and circle the states that are from the Union. So we are going to convert this to a draw it, and it should pop up the image momentarily. There we go. So it's a draw it now. We can go on with the lesson. I'm going to delete the error that I just made. This is a really good one. It was already created. I love fill in the blank, so I'm just going to leave it as is. And like I said, this particular lesson went from 23 slides to 26 slides because of what I did. So some people might say, hey, that's pretty long. Even me myself, I really only like lessons probably no longer than 12 slides long. So I'm going to get rid of some of the ones that are, and that I felt like I covered already. So I'm going to get rid of open-ended question. I'm going to get rid of matching pairs, and I'll get rid of this matching pairs as well. A good thing to do also, I notice, maybe not this one in particular, but a lot of people like to do time to climb at the very end of the curriculum. And I think even just in general, but there's nothing wrong with actually including it like during the lesson. So let me show you about time to climb, and let me show you how it could relate to this curriculum. So after this slide, after slide number 9, you can go ahead and do a time to climb, which is right here. And I'll show you 2 ways to do time to climb. One, you can search for one that's already created for you and goes along with the lesson. So up here on the right side, on the top right, you could put Civil War, and it already has one. So if we look that up, we can use this one. Social Studies, grade 6 to 8. This is perfect. That's exactly what I need. So if you click on it, it gives you 7 questions already. Now you could do a couple of things. You could use all of these questions that it provides you, or you can edit it yourself, or you could delete them. So you could press this button right here, you'll delete the question. So I don't want to talk about Emancipation Proclamation, but this one I do want to talk about. One thing that you could do is actually include a picture as well. So if I put what is the bloodiest war in the Civil War? So it was Gettysburg. So I'm going to look to see what it got. So this is a really good photo of the war at Gettysburg. So when the students do their time to climb, this is actually going to show up on their screen. Let me do one more over here. You go to the top. President of the United States during the Civil War, and that was Lincoln. So we could do that, and it'll give the students, it'll kind of give them a hint, of who that president is. So we could do that. We could go ahead and save. Another thing that you could do is you could just edit these, delete them if you want. You could change them and have your own different answers. So that's another option that you can do. Again, we're using the curriculum, but we're just doing a few different things to support, to maybe make it, a little bit more robust. Or, we all have different styles of teaching. So if I don't like doing, matching pairs, but I love time to climb, I'm just going to go in there, get rid of matching pairs, and then do the things that I want to do. So kind of going along there, we've done a few things already. So since our last changes from editing the video and checking for understanding, we did time to climb, and then we also created one of the slides into a draw where the students can show you what they understand by, in this case, circling various parts of the map. So that being said, one of the things that I do like to do at the very end is actually include a poll. So I'm going to get rid of some of these slides. So in a at the end of a lesson, one of the things that I really like to do is include a poll so you can actually gauge your students. So the question can be, what is your knowledge of the Civil War? You can actually do this in the beginning as well, but I'm just going to do it at the end. So you could put like, I'm a pro, I am pro, I kind, so we could put I kind of know about it. Then we can also put add an answer, and then we could put I need more support. And the cool thing is about this is allow students to select multiple options. We're going to keep that up. So you can get a pretty good understanding of where your students are at. So that's a pretty good tool that you can put at the end. And of course, you can always put, another one would be a collaborative board. I'm just going to show you one more tool because I do want to show you reports on how you can see the reports in the curriculum. And then we'll go from there. The last thing that I'll do is I wanted to show you a collaborative board because I just got a question on that. If we do a collaborative board, this would be a really good question to show students. This is just like if you've used Padlet, it's just the same thing as Padlet, but I feel like you have a little bit more options. You can choose if you want the students to see each other's names. You can choose to see if you want to. You could be the one that approves the comments. So a lot of teachers, when they do the collaborative board, they'll turn this on, because what happens is students will answer a question and students will copy other students. So in order to prevent it, you can approve student comments yourself and they won't see them all at the same time and then just copy each other. Another thing you can do is students can see names. You could either turn this on, everybody will know each other what they put, or you could turn it off. So it's really a matter of preference. So that's a really good feature. So just showing you all the collaborative board, and then we can just put, how would you prevented Civil War? So sorry, I know I have like spelling errors all over the place. Prevented. There we go. I think I got it right. So that's another cool little option. So I like this. The way that it is, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how you get it onto Nearpod, how you can assign it to Google Classroom, and then we'll go from there. So this turned into a 23 slides presentation to a 20 slides presentation. Once you're done, go right here to save and go to Nearpod, and it'll take you to the Nearpod screen, the home screen. The longer the presentation is, the longer it takes to save them in your library. So this one, it'll take a little bit. It's only 20 slides. If it's possible, would I be able to get some of you all? We're not going to do the whole thing. I just want you all to participate in maybe one or two activities like that'll take no longer than a minute on here, just so I could show you what. You know what? I could just show you what the data is on a different one. So we'll do that to save time. So now that we have the presentation, I want to go into it and let you know this is what you could do. You either do live presentation where a teacher leads it, or you could do student paced and assign this for homework. Students can do it at their own time. But for the sake of this presentation, I want to show you one last thing before we go to reports. Once we set a live presentation, it'll give you a code. So with this code, it'll give you the ability to copy the link, and you can copy the link and put it in your Google Classroom, or you can pick Google Classroom and then you can assign it to the particular class. This is a pretty important step because when you get this Nearpod password to go into it, it's specific, right? So if I put this in my first period class, this link, what I want to do is I want to get a separate link for my second period class, because if you use the same link, let's say for example we used this, we did the whole presentation, and then my next class is coming in and I go back to the beginning, what's going to end up happening is the student data is going to show up for all of your classes on this code. So the easy thing that you can do, let's just go to slide 10, and your class is over. Click this button at the top left, click on Nearpod. It'll say, hey, do you want to save it? Press yes. So when you go back to that lesson tomorrow, when you go back to that lesson tomorrow, right here, resume, it'll put you back at this slide number 10. That's where you all left off. So what you're going to want to do is every time you launch the live participation, it'll show you your previous ones. If you have your third period class coming in, you're going to do it again. It gives you a different code, and then you can either copy and paste the link to Google Classroom or assign it through Google Classroom right here. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I'm going to kind of get this to come to an end. There is a Nearpod library that I didn't go over, but feel free to mess around with that. We do have reports, and the way the reports are set up is it does it by lesson. So if I launch this lesson, I had one session, I can go ahead and click on it. I had 16 students, and it'll give you some pretty good feedback. The check marks mean they did the assignment, and then it gives you a percentage on how they did for something that was multiple choice. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I know it was kind of a lot. It's just a nice little run through of using curriculum that's already made by PSJA and just using Nearpod to kind of put your own touch to it. I love the curriculum as a blueprint, but like I said, even in talking to the writers, they're saying, hey, this is just, this is a framework. This is a blueprint. The teachers can make it their own. And so that's what I've been advocating, that you can kind of make it your own based on the way that you teach and edit it the way that you think your students can learn the best. So that is all that I have for right now. Thank you all very much.